I'm with Josh Aaron from Perea in Tiberias, who's a worship leader. Now, Josh, what sort of worship music do you write and sing?
I write songs in Hebrew and English, and really just share it with the nations.
Is this messianic music?
You can call it messianic music for sure, but I think sometimes it falls in sort of a neutral zone as well. But really, the heart of all of it is to elevate. It's elevation. You're just worshiping, uplifting God.
Is this type of music popular outside of Israel as well as inside of Israel?
Yeah, among the church as well. I find a lot of people, especially on YouTube. I think we have 11 million views of my songs on YouTube. I get a lot of messages from Christians around the world saying there's something special about hearing worship music in the original language of the Bible in Hebrew.
Is it picking up the Jewishness of Jesus?
Absolutely. I grew up from a Jewish background. My mother's Israeli. She was raised Orthodox. My father was actually Christian, and so I grew up in two different worlds. And for me, when I accepted the Lord, it made Christianity made more sense for me as a Jew than it did as a Christian. Because he was Jewish, his disciples were Jewish. He lived in the land of Israel. He spoke in Hebrew, Aramaic. So really, it just comes from that context.
Have you produced CDs?
Yes, I have. I've produced 3 CDs. My first one was called Bo Yeshua, which means Come Jesus in Hebrew. That was our live album in 2009. 2012, we did an album called You Are Holy. That's the album where things started taking off for me. We did a music video for a few of those songs. One was How Great Is Our God in Hebrew, and that's been really what people have been finding me really pretty much because of that song. And now it's spilt into all of my other songs as well, up until my third album, Hu Yavo, which in English means He Will Come. And now I'm working on my 4th album, which will be done in October. It's called Every Tribe, and it's just a song about the gathering of the nations. It's just a cool album. I got one song with an Indian chief friend of mine, a Native American Indian chief. It's just an album about the gathering of the nations.
Has Messianic music grown in the land of Israel?
Oh yeah, it sure has. It went from, I have one of the old hymnals when Jews were becoming saved way back, accepting Messiah back in the day. They didn't know what to do because there was a lot of Orthodox who accepted the Lord, but they didn't go anywhere. They just stayed in their synagogue. They just kept quiet about Messiah. But as Christians started sharing, at first Jews didn't know what to do because Christians didn't fully understand that the context of where the gospel had come from. So back then, they translate all the Christian hymnals into Hebrew. I have one of the older ones from the 1960s, all the famous hymns in Hebrew. And then, about 20, 30 years ago in the land, probably even more than that, more indigenous believers started to just really be open about their faith, and they wanted to have their own music. And it's been growing ever since. There's a lot of great music coming from believers right here in the land.
Is Messianic music different to regular church music?
Sometimes it has a similar sound. It's very elevating, very worshipful. But there's different styles, like there is in the States or in different countries where we call it Mizrahi, like Eastern music. There's those Eastern sounds that are in there, which is really coming to life in modern Messianic music today. I'd say that's the difference today. They have a lot more of a Middle Eastern sound. It's starting to be infused in our music.
What sort of instruments do you play?
I play guitar and ukulele, actually. Yeah.
Do you actually travel with your music?
Yes, I travel often. I just came back here to Israel 2 days ago after being abroad for a month, over a month and a half in Poland, across the U.S., and just singing and sharing the good news of Messiah through song.
And how did you actually come to Israel?
How did I come to Israel? Well, my mother is Israeli. My mother was born and raised in Haifa. My dad's from the States. And I came here 20 years ago to meet my uncle, my mom's brother. They were separated during the War of Independence in 1948. It's a crazy story, actually. So Mom was born in January of 1948. Israel became a modern state in May of 1948. And but during that process, my grandfather left. We haven't seen my grandfather, my Saba, since 1948. During the process, my great uncle Tzvi Epstein, my mom's uncle, died during the War of Independence. So my grandmother was left alone with two small children, Micha, my uncle, who was 3 years old, and my mother was a brand new baby. And they were separated and given up for adoption in Haifa. So after quite a few years, first of all, my mom was shipped to America and became a citizen when she was 16 years old in America. But her brother was adopted into a different family. He never left Israel. And one day he was invited to come and speak on a television show in 1998 in Tel Aviv. It was called the Meni Pe'er Show. And Meni would invite Israeli celebrities, or he'd have like these touching stories, like a talk show. So he had Micha come on the show, and Micha was sharing his life. This is my uncle. And he started talking about, surviving the 6 Days War at the Kotel, the Wailing Wall. And he started to share also about his little sister that he remembered when she was a baby and that they were separated. And my mother didn't remember him because her family didn't tell her she was even adopted until she was a young adult. But Micha did because he was 3. So he explained, growing up in Israel, losing his sister, and a few more stories. And finally, the host of the show said, well, Micha, before you go, we have one more thing. We want to put a phone number on the screen and help you connect with your family all throughout Israel. If anybody has any information, he looked at the prompter and he said, if anybody has information, please call this number, and we'd love to connect Micha with his family. So finally, he looked at Micha and said, okay, just one more thing before you go. In the audience is your baby sister, Chana. And they brought my mother out to meet him after 50 years. They were separated for 50 years. And that was when I first came in 1998. When I came, I couldn't believe I'd never been there before. You grow up in America, you grow up in a society like America, you don't really even want to leave the country. But once I came to Israel, the roots wrapped around my ankles, and I never ever wanted to leave. So later we moved here. I moved here with my wife and kids, and now we live here in the north, near the lake, the Sea of Galilee.
Well, amazing story. And you have a litter project now. What sort of litter project are you doing?
We have a project. It's called the Beautiful Land Initiative, beautifulland.org. Jordan Marcelino and myself started it about a year ago. And we really, we just wanted to be practical in our faith. And we wanted to be the best neighbors we could possibly be. So Jordan came to me and shared his heart about doing a cleanup project. And I had already, been to the lake many times. There's several places in Israel where tourists come, Israeli tourists as well, and the litter is unbelievable. It's just everywhere. So when Jordan brought it to me, I said, I'm in. So him and I just developed this system to encourage the whole country to pick up trash, and we've picked up tons, literally tons and tons and tons of trash in just 1 year, and we've only begun. So we've had groups, hundreds and hundreds of people, countless groups come every week. We have 1, 2, 3 groups a week, and this coming year we're kind of afraid it's growing so much. So we're already starting to look into hiring staff and hiring regions throughout Israel. And the bottom line, really, it's the best testimony we've ever had. Who in the world picks up trash? Well, we do. And not only do we, but so many Christian tourists and Jewish tourists and Messianic visitors as well coming. It's been incredible just to share. And people will come up to us and they'll say, why are you doing it? What an amazing opportunity, because there we go. It's wide open. And then we just share. This is why we do it. And it's been an incredible testimony.
Have the authorities responded to what you're doing?
Yeah, we've met with the managers of the lake, the managers of the city, the mayor of Tiberias. We have his full endorsement as well. They've been just baffled at how much we can do in 1 year versus what they've been trying to do for years to rally up people to clean. So it's been a great witness to them as well. And next, we want to move on. We don't want to just do our region where we live now. The goal from the beginning was to start picking up in our area, move on throughout Israel and into the West Bank and Palestinian areas if we can, and Arab villages, our neighbors as well, to be a light unto the whole nation.
Why do you do what you do?
It's that still small voice. You just keep moving forward. And I've done so many things in my life, and you hit a place where I'm not supposed to do this. And then you do so many things, and the things you're supposed to do, you just keep doing and you give it your all. And this is something I know I'm supposed to do, and we've been giving it our all for a year now, and we plan to do it forever.
What's your prayer for the Galilee finally?
My ultimate prayer, Bo Yeshua, come Yeshua, come Jesus, that he will return soon, and he will come back. But we want to prepare the way, whatever we can. And our biggest goal is to see our brethren recognize him, that he's not coming for the first time, he's coming for the second time. Yeah, that's probably my biggest prayer, is to see him come back, but to have as many people ready here as possible for his return.
Well, Josh, thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you very much. Great speaking with you.